Today we have Matt Cowdell, who is the director at Arthur Street, who will be presenting on our masterclass today. Over to you, Matt.
Very good. Thank you, Emma. And thanks to the Chamber for giving us an opportunity to run everybody through our session. So my name's Matt. For those of you that I don't know, I'm a director here at Arthur Street Digital. I'll give you a little bit more of an overview about who I am and what I do in a moment, but we'll essentially get on with it. So I'm hoping everybody can see my slides with a bit of luck. And just a couple of things for everybody joining us. I love to keep these sessions fairly interactive. So please, if you have any questions, jump on the chat and let me know that you're there. Or if I'm saying anything that you don't understand, please just tell me to pause and we can slow down and spend a bit more time on a topic. So today we're here to talk about building your business with paid ads. And we're going to run through a whole bunch of stuff about just how you can get results through paid. Let me just move this out of the way. Okay, so what we're going to cover, essentially sort of why we're here is because often we find for a lot of our clients that we work with, some of the best stories never get told. So our, clients sometimes will spend a lot of money creating great content, great videos, great, stories, great blog posts, but they just don't have the reach in order to work to achieve their goals. So often we come in with a paid strategy to take some of those stories that they've already got, that they've already spent money to capture, and we just amplify it to an audience. So essentially, that's kind of why we're here. We're going to talk through using paid to help you get your stories out there. Some of the things that we come across as well, and for some of you, the reason that you're here could be because marketing is a challenge. And there's a great saying that half of the money I spend on marketing is wasted, or half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is I just don't know which half. That's a very old statement from a guy a very long time ago in the US, who basically talks about the fact that it can be a really tricky thing to work out what's actually working with your marketing. And one of the great things about digital ads is they're very accountable, and you can really understand the effect that they're having on helping you achieve your goals. Many SMEs or small to medium-sized businesses that we work with, they'll come to us because they don't have a strategy. They don't really know where to start. And I'm guessing that there's probably a few people that have joined us for this session that don't yet have a strategy. So we're going to hand over some tips and some things that you should include. We're here because also results that you might be getting from doing organic social media posts are declining. So it's definitely getting more and more difficult to get cut through, to engage people with, Facebook and Instagram content. So we're going to talk through that. And then finally, it's always tough to stay up to date. And here at Arthur Street, we've got a team, a fantastic team of 8 of us, each sort of specializing in a different area of digital marketing. But we all have a challenge to stay up to date because it's all moving so quickly, and we're all getting our heads around the next thing that's coming, like ChatGPT, that we're going to have a bit of a chat about today. So that's kind of what we're going to run through. Within the session, we're going to talk through some industry challenges, as well as just sort of where the industry is at, where people are spending their time when they're using digital. We're going to talk through some strategies and tactics that work for 2023 and hopefully beyond, because you want to set up your strategy for the next couple of years. We're going to talk about how to set some goals for your digital marketing if you don't have any. We'll give you a quick overview of Meta, so Facebook, Instagram, and Meta products, as well as Google Ads and how you might actually just get started to get them rolling for your business. Then we'll talk about how to set up a system so you can monitor the results of your digital advertising. So something that we work to a lot is return on ad spend, or ROAS. And we're going to just talk a little bit about how you can get an understanding of your ROAS, no matter what industry that you're in. And then finally, we're going to hand over a whole bunch of tips and tricks and some resources that'll help you as you go. So I'm aiming to leave about 10 minutes for questions. So we're going to see how we go. We've got a fair bit to get through. So what I wanted to do really quickly, guys, I'd love to hear from you. Please jump in the chat and let me know your name, the business that you work for, and also if there's anything in particular you would like to learn. So jump on, love to hear from you. Let us know your business, what you do, and also if there's anything in particular that you hope to get out of this session, and we'll make sure that we cover it. While you're doing that, I'll give you just a really quick overview about me. So this is Mel, my wife, and kids, Lexi and Alfie. So I'm Geelong born and bred. And jumping on the QA now, awesome. Chat has been disabled. QA is working. There you go, guys. Thank you, Catherine. Guys, jump on the QA. I am a director at Arthur Street Digital. I essentially started this business and hopefully we can get that chat unlocked potentially. I started Arthur Street as a way to, I guess, be an open and transparent agency. So I've worked for a lot of media companies in the past. News Corp, I spent a lot of time with the Herald Sun and Weekly Times and Fox Sports, developing content for big brands to sponsor. And during that time, worked with a lot of agencies, and I found that many sort of were all about smoke and mirrors. There wasn't a lot of transparency in the industry, and there weren't a lot of straight shooters sort of, explaining things clearly. And that's essentially what we've set out to do with Arthur Street. So we're an open and transparent agency. We're lucky enough to work with a range of brands, small, medium, and large. And we also do a lot in terms of giving back to the community. So we firmly believe that companies can be vectors for change. And a lot of the work we do, including we have somebody in a social impact role where their role is just working with not-for-profits and helping them with their digital marketing. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. I won't bang on about us too much because you're here to learn. What I wanted to cover, and a couple of you jumping on the Q&A, you can either jump on Q&A or the chat. Awesome, thanks, Catherine. Hey, Donna. So jump on and we can get to know you. So talking through some behavioral shifts and trends. So what are people doing at the moment with digital? One of the things that we find, obviously, since this thing called COVID went around, we try not to reflect on that too much. But COVID came along, all of a sudden we're stuck at home and people spent huge amounts of time on their devices. So we're now on mobile even more than ever. I'm not sure if anybody wants to get a shock, but if you haven't recently, jump on your screen time and just have a look at how much time you're spending on social media and the rest of it. And I think a lot of us can get a bit of a shock. So we're spending a lot of time on mobile. When we're accessing social media, we're spending a fair bit of time on Facebook. So most Australians spend a lot of time on Facebook, and it tends to cover a pretty wide gamut of age groups. So if you think about Facebook, we've got, young people on it, people, I want to say middle-aged, but my age, spending a bit of time on Facebook. And then we've also got grandparents that are on Facebook, spending time to keep up with grandkids and so on. Then we've got Facebook Messenger, Instagram, TikTok, and sort of scrolling down the list, we've got a range of other social platforms. Now, for this session, because most Australians are spending their time when they're on social media across Facebook and Instagram, we're going to focus on those as two platforms that you can get some great results across. In terms of where Australians are spending their time when accessing the web, we've got Google number one. So people are spending a huge amount of time on Google searching, and we're all guilty of that. Second, probably no surprise to a lot of people here, YouTube is massive. Just the amount of people that now turn to YouTube during their downtime to, stream content, as opposed to sort of turning to Netflix or free-to-air TV. We're seeing a real trend of that sort of habit, as well as people using YouTube to engage and learn things. So we're all using YouTube, a stack, Facebook, and then obviously Reddit and a few others on the list. So for this session, we're going to focus on YouTube to go to. Emma, awesome. And YouTube has actually on the desktop version built out a new learning platform as well. So that's where people are spending the time. Now, somebody always points out that, yes, Pornhub is on the list. They're at number 13. People do spend a fair bit of time on platforms like that as well, but we're not going to go into detail there. Guys, just sort of looping out back. Good to hear from you. Just looking through the list. Donna, you need assistance with all digital marketing. I hope that we can help. Trish recently purchased AG appliances. Awesome. So you've got a bit of a learning curve to get across it. Hey, Lucy, good to see you. And yes, ChatGPT, we're definitely going to talk through that and give you a couple of ways that you can have a play around with it. Hey, Greg, welcome. You're a sole trader and you're after a bit of clarity, definitely. You know what? If there's one thing I really hope to deliver today, I want to give you some really practical tips that you can sort of run with. So if we end this session and I haven't done that, I haven't done my job. Hey, Georgie, welcome. Yeah, we're excited to see you too. I think Hannah's going to come out and see you today or something like that. And so on and so forth. Guys, thank you for your comments. And awesome. I'll try and answer all these questions, but it seems like ChatGPT is pretty high on the list of what people want to play around with. And yes, bring on ChatGPT 4. It's pretty amazing. Okay, so carrying on. You're also here probably because you've noticed that, one of the things we come across very commonly is that it's just really difficult now to get results through organic social media. So unfortunately, there's a very low number of people that already follow your Facebook and Instagram pages that will actually see your business content, or LinkedIn even. So, to be successful now and drive business outcomes, you really need to think about having a paid digital budget that you can invest wisely. And we're going to talk through a bit about that as we go. Now, what I wanted to do, guys, just really quickly, I want to know your greatest digital marketing challenges. So again, guys, jump on the chat thread and please let me know what is your pain point? What is the one thing that you wake up at 3 a.m. and want to fix with your marketing? Let me know what's your greatest challenge when it comes to marketing or digital marketing. Trish, inexperience, 100%. Steve, I'm with you on Facebook support. One of the things I should have mentioned, we're a Facebook marketing partner as well as a Google partner. And it's interesting that we find, even though we're a marketing partner, we have a Facebook rep that we can call. But geez, life is still difficult whenever we delve into Facebook issues. So I'm with you there. Alana, having time to create all the social media content, 100%. It's two roles almost to create content and post it, and also to create really great content. It's definitely a full-time job. Lucille, 100% content. Lucy, engagement and reach. Emily, driving quality leads, good one. Catherine, staying up to date with SEO, definitely. Well, we're going to talk through the Google landscape and give you some tips on SEO as well. Greg, yes, updating multiple platforms, 100%. It can be a real challenge. So one of the things we're going to talk about too is just, in small to medium-sized businesses, we only have a very small amount of time that we can afford to spend on marketing. So one of the things we really want to do is make sure that that's well spent. So we're going to sort of hand over the practical tip of, what would we recommend you do first off, and, what are some things maybe you can forget about. Really quickly, before we get into the social platforms and Google, just wanted to talk through some of the other things that we're noticing have really changed. So we've got these new social media platforms that everybody has probably taken note of. So I'm sure that there's a few people out there probably going, should I be on TikTok for my brand? And I certainly know the team has sort of pushed us to start a TikTok profile. So there's definitely new social media platforms emerging. Be Real is another one that sort of, came along really quickly and now it's sort of gone a bit quiet. So there's going to continuously be new social media platforms that will come in. In that, there's also new ways to post. So, for example, Instagram Reels can be a fantastic tool to grow your organic reach, but they still haven't been around for very long. And I think a lot of us are still learning how to create great Reels and create great content. So social platforms continue to evolve. Consumers are turning to mobile more than ever before, as we mentioned. Another thing that we're noticing is just the expectation that people have around customer experience. So, if we now go to buy a pair of shoes online and we have a question, we almost expect that we can jump on a chat bot at 10 p.m. and somebody's going to get back to us pretty quickly with either an automated answer or, there's actually going to be someone there that can help us with our query. So one of the things we're going to talk about is if you haven't reviewed or thought about your customer experience, now is really the time to do it. And we'll hand over a template and a couple of tips on how to do that. We've got the rise of AI, ChatGPT, everybody's keen to learn. It's becoming mainstream, so we may as well get used to using it. And then the other thing that we've noticed is there is a lot more competition coming in through digital marketing. So you're probably noticing there's a fair bit more competition in the industry that you're in. And, unfortunately, during economic downturns, as we may move into, I wasn't going to say the R word, the recession. We may end up in recession later this year, who knows? But during those difficult times, we need to be even more effective with our digital marketing to take advantage of a smaller market and make sure that we are competing well. So that usually equates to more competition, more people spending money in the channels, which we'll talk through just how to make better ads as well. AI is definitely becoming more mainstream, and I think almost every second client I talk to has had a play around with ChatGPT. And Emma and I were just having a chat prior to this that everybody is playing around with it and having a go. So I wanted to just really quickly, because it can be a good way to optimize how you spend your time. And for those of us that struggle to come up with social media content, it can be a really good tool to just help us write some basics or how to, get a creative process started to help with our social content. So I'm just going to jump over to my other screen. So hopefully everyone can see. Can everyone still see my screen? Hoping you might be able to, or it might have disappeared. Yep, awesome. So hopefully you should see ChatGPT. So anybody can play around with this for free through OpenAI. And if you haven't already had a dabble, you do have to sign up, but anybody can have a play around with it for free. And for those of you that haven't already used it, we can simply ask it to write something for us. And there are some sort of ways to be more effective. So let's say we want to write, Emma, I'm going to use you guys with the chamber as an example. Write a social media post about the Geelong Chamber of Commerce and upcoming events. Bang, enter. And we might have timed out, so I may just have to go again. We're just going to refresh. So write a social media post. Okay, bang. Attention to all Geelong business owners and entrepreneurs. Don't miss out on these exciting events hosted by the Geelong Chamber of Commerce. Expand your professional network, gain valuable insights, and stay up to date on the latest industry trends. So already you can see that takes a lot of sort of thought away from that process of, what would we say? So it can be a really great way to come up with some ideas on your next social media post. You can use it with caution, but you can use it for writing blog posts. And it can be a really great way to, yeah, as I said, just start that creative process of what would you say? And then you might use bits of it in your actual content that you're writing for. Now, one of the things that, if you want to sort of get next level on using it and be a bit more effective. So this is the older version. This is ChatGPT 3.5, and it is a fairly basic version of it. ChatGPT 4 is about to launch, and it's really acting as a personal assistant. It's a very, very useful tool. But one of the things that we can do, each time we ask it a question, it will create a new instance. So they're having some challenges at the moment, so they've dropped out the instance setup. But if you've used it before, you'll see each new thread will have a separate dialog box here, and you can have a look at it. Each thread sort of learns over time. So if we sort of train it, we can actually say a bit more about the Geelong Chamber of Commerce, or we could actually list the events that are coming up so that it can take that into account when it is writing its content. The other thing we can do is ask it, do you understand? So write a social media post about Geelong Chamber and include the word. What's a good word that we can include on our post about Geelong Chamber? Include the word training as an example. And then we can just say, do you understand? And we can continue to sort of keep this process going so that it understands more and it's learning through the process. So this is a really great way too, if we are writing a social media post, but we need it to learn a bit about our business, or if we want to write it in a certain style, we can actually ask it to, can you rewrite this in the style of Ryan Reynolds? I think Reynolds might be spelt wrong. Sure. And, or you can say, that definitely sounds like Ryan Reynolds. Hey, Geelong peeps, Ryan here. You know what's cooler than a polar bear's toenails? Upgrading your skill set and taking your career to the next level. So all of a sudden you can see it's now using a bit of humor and a bit more conversational language. So guys, I really hope that's useful to you. Have a play around with ChatGPT. Yes, Amy, it is insane. Now, what we're starting to see develop is also a range of issues that come about with using this sort of technology. Like Emma and I were just having a conversation about how will universities start to check that this hasn't been used to write an assignment. And there's certainly a lot of debate and work being done behind the scenes to make sure that there's a way to track when it has been used. Using it for business, another thing that comes to mind is also the fact that we need to be cautious about the legalities of using it. So, for example, if we've signed, as an agency, if we've signed a non-disclosure agreement with a client, we can't then tell ChatGPT about a business in order to get it to write some content. And we certainly wouldn't want to do that, because we're then handing over our information to the open web to some degree. So there are some things to use it with caution, but for most small businesses, it can be a really helpful tool to just give you some thought starters on what you're going to write. And, certainly the team and I use it to get some creative thought starters. So hopefully that's useful. So jumping back to our slides, I've got too many windows open at the moment. So hopefully you can see my slides again. I think you can. So talking through a couple of marketing strategies. Now, one of the models we're going to use to frame this conversation is called POEM. Easy way to remember it, but POEM stands for paid, owned, and earned media. So anybody that's worked in the industry has probably heard this before. I think the unis also teach a basic version of it. So thinking about your digital marketing, in order to be effective, we kind of have to be present across each of these circles. So bottom left, we've got owned media. So including things like your website, anything that you control, your blogs, you might have a mobile app, or also thinking about your social presence, and your LinkedIn page is an example of owned media. Then over here we've got earned media. So thinking about things that you've earned through putting effort into it. So your influencer outreach, if you've been working with influencers to get your products out there, your social networks and the audiences that you've built up for social media. Yeah, definitely, Steve. Facebook page to some degree, and the Facebook following that you've built up would sit in earned media. And then we've got paid media at the top. So thinking about spending a bit of money if it's relevant for your business across Facebook ads, or thinking about running some ads across Google search, or if you've got really good video content, you could think about pushing some content out through YouTube. So the interesting thing is where these intersect. So if we look at, running paid placements where paid media meets earned media, we can do some really clever paid promotion where you might be working with an influencer, but you want to amplify that reach and get it out to more people. Same sort of thing if we think about where paid media meet owned media, and we might want to think about, okay, how can I use paid media to really get my blogs out there in front of the right people and get people engaging with this content that I spend a fair bit of time and effort producing. So thinking about that, and if your strategy doesn't include one of those, I'd probably want to think about it. It's a really useful way to sort of set the scene for this conversation. The other model that we use pretty commonly is what we call the marketing funnel, or the AIDA model. There's many different versions of this, but one of the ones that we like, this is from Smart Insights, and it just gives us, a really good framework to think about our marketing strategy. So we've got plan at the top, reach, act, convert, and engage. So think about bringing your customers through a journey, and across each of these phases, we've got some useful metrics that we might want to think about. So, for example, during the reach phase, we want to see, get in front of as many people as possible with our content. One of the things that we might think about as a good metric for that would be, followers. It could be the amount of ad impressions, so the amount of ads that we're actually getting out there. It could be unique followers, unique visitors on our website as well. And then as the funnel goes down, we want to get metrics that are probably more relevant to you actually running your business. Like as we get to convert, we actually want to monitor leads perhaps, or possibly that's up a bit further, but we want to look at, if we're I think we've got a couple of e-commerce businesses here, we might want to think about obviously measuring the amount of sales that we're getting from our marketing. So looking at the amount of revenue so we can develop a return on ad spend estimate. So thinking about the marketing funnel, we'll hand over these slides so you'll have them after the session. And this is a great one just to sort of map out what are you doing for your reach. So what are you doing? What part of your marketing is driving reach? What are you doing to drive, that buyer stage and drive some decision making? What are you doing to drive purchase or sales, and so on and so forth? So thinking about that as a part of your marketing is a really good way to go. Now, we said we'd talk about a couple of tactics that'll work as we go, but guys, we're half an hour in. I just want to hit pause. Does anybody have any questions on anything that we've covered so far? Jump on the chat, guys, if anybody has any questions. Love to hear from you. Otherwise, we'll crack on as I have a swig from my Google Partners drink bottle. So continuing on. So a couple of tactics that will work for 2023 and beyond, and a couple of things you might want to consider. we're seeing this trend continue around influencers. So, paying, whether it's paid or whether you just give them product or incentivize them to talk about you, 93% of marketing professionals use influencer marketing. So huge amounts of people investing money in influencers, and, they're doing it to build awareness, to build trust, to amplify their reach and reach an audience outside of their current sort of follower base, and also to drive conversions. Some of the best content that I've seen, I'm big into motorbikes and love getting out on the motorbike, sort of have too many motorbikes. But one of the things that gets me is if I'm thinking about buying a product, and something that comes to mind is Quad Lock, which is a little device that I can bolt to my handlebars, and it allows me to easily clip in my smartphone so that I can, watch Google Maps while I'm riding and keep my phone safe. So one of the things that gets me is I jumped on their website because I was going to buy their product. And then I didn't buy it in that instance. But the next time I jump on my Facebook feed, I see a great video ad with Ewan McGregor talking about the product, and Ewan McGregor and his mate Charlie go on motorbike treks. So they're influencers in the space. And what it does to me, it sort of makes me think, geez, this product is really trusted. And, it makes me consider purchasing it, whereas I was only just thinking about it a moment ago. So thinking about that customer journey, which we're going to talk a bit more about as well. How can you use influencers to sort of, build that trust piece, get them to showcase your product or service, and use them in your marketing to drive conversions can be a good way to go. When I think a lot of us think about influencers, we think about the sort of, celebrities with tens of thousands of followers on Instagram. We're also seeing the trend of micro influencers. So, now tapping into people that, they might just be celebrities, as we call them, or, they're Geelong based. They might have not massive audiences, but they definitely have influence. So having a think about, you don't have to go to the very top. You can just reach people around you that might be trusted influencers in the space that you're in. So having a think about that. Another thing that we've sort of got coming up, and I hope that we're all embracing Reels, but thinking about live streaming and also vertical video content. So, we can create some really great content now through our smartphones. And one of the things I urge everybody to do, go out and buy a tripod, a decent quality tripod, and you can get a little attachment that just sort of grabs onto your smartphone. And it's one of the best things you'll ever do, because you can just sit it at the back of the room. You can record yourself, or if you've got an event on, you can sit at the back of the room and just film the event and live stream it. It can really help with your, building content if you're doing it all yourself. So one of the things that we've seen really work for a lot of clients is Reels. So if you haven't already, jump on Instagram and have a play around with creating a reel. They give you, some great tools to be able to create them. And you can now snip together images to make a great reel. And one of the things you'll find is you will get very strong reach, and engagement outside of just doing standard social media posts. The other thing you can have a look at is Reel ads as well, which we're sort of getting our heads around now, and they're sort of becoming a bit more common. But Reel ads are a great way to take that content that's already going to work really well and push it to a greater audience. Emily, good question. You said, do I have any recommendations on how a service-based business can use an influencer strategy? Now, service-based is definitely harder. It's very easy to, if we're selling UGG boots as an example, send a whole bunch of celebrities our UGG boots and they can wear them. The thing I would keep in mind is just map out who your target audience is. So, if depending on what you do, go through that process. And we've got a little worksheet that I can share with everybody just to really understand what are their demographics, what are their psychographics, so what are they aligned to, what are their pain points, and then go through a process to really understand them and who they, who influences their decision along the way. So even in, we do some work in a lot of professional services fields, and one that comes to mind is we're doing some work for for IMRA is the name of the company, the International Medical Robotics Association. So it's they actually sell training courses, but they're very much a service sort of industry. They are targeting surgeons and trying to teach them how to use medical robots. So really at the cutting edge of the industry. And for them, it's the same thing goes. We went through that process to understand who's their target audience, who do they look up to, and then we can explore those options. And for them, there were a couple of surgeons that are really elite in their field and people really align with. So thinking about that would be a really good way to go. Hopefully that helps, Emily. Hopefully I answered that question. Moving forward, so reviewing your customer experience. So one of the things that we highly recommend is developing a customer journey map. And again, I'll share a template when we send out these slides. But a customer journey map is really the first step in understanding what are people thinking and feeling and going through when they're engaging with you from the very start of the process to the end of the process. And how can you, once you've mapped the existing process, you can then start to think about, okay, what are some ways that we can go above and beyond for our customers? And the word that we often use is, how can you surprise and delight your target audience? And that's how you really get some great customer experiences. So thinking about that, the other part of it is if we're running paid ads, if we're going to be doing some sort of Google ads or Facebook ads, we want to make sure that people are clicking through and having a good experience so that we're not wasting money as well. There's nothing worse than jumping on a website. And I had an example of this. I tried to buy a soccer uniform for my son. And the web experience was horrible. I actually had to do it on a mobile and I couldn't get the mobile device to work because the buttons were too small. And then I had to jump on a desktop and it didn't sort of follow through and connect up with my club. So really think about your customer experience. And if you're making it hard for your customers to do business with you, you're really wasting your money. So look at there's some great, just Google conversion rate optimization or CRO, and you'll come up with a range of great websites to give you some tips on how to improve your conversion rate. Now, delving in a bit more with Google Ads, the other sort of strategic thing that we see work really well are Google first strategies. Now, if anybody here has been on our training sessions before, we talk a lot about thinking about consumer intent. And what I mean by that is if I'm in Geelong, I'm a small business and I'm in market for an accountant, one of the first things I'm going to do if I don't know anyone is jump onto a blank Google search and type in accountant near me or accountant Geelong or Geelong accountant. So thinking about, so that search that I've just done on Google captures my intent because I'm pretty close to, I'm obviously seeking out a Geelong-based accountant. So for most small businesses, there is no doubt that a Google Ads strategy will or should deliver great results. And one of the things I said before about trying to save you guys some time, get your Google stuff right first before you explore everything else. That's a pretty easy win. So look at SEO and the rest of it, which we're going to talk about, the sort of landscape of Google and how that all comes together. But the first thing is really understanding the types of keywords that people might be searching for before they engage with you. And we break it down into 4 main groups. So people might be searching for informational keywords, navigational keywords, commercial keywords, and then transactional keywords. So think about your business and the different types of keywords that people might be searching when they're jumping on Google. So information search, and if you think about the marketing funnel that we covered before, it's usually towards the top of the funnel. So people are looking for, broad range of information. They haven't really narrowed down the product or service that they want. And a good example of that might be that if we think about that accountant search, I probably just want to know, accountants in Geelong. And I'm going to jump through and have a look at maybe who's running ads, who's coming up number one, might click on it, browse their website, and then go, okay, this accountant does tax planning. And then my next search on Google might be tax planning accountant Geelong, as an example. And you can see now I've sort of started to move down, and that might be more of a commercial type search, and I'm getting closer to making my decision. So think about mapping out the keywords that your customers might type in on Google. Now, for those of you, just to sort of take a step back and talk a bit more broadly about Google, Google tends to have a few different faces that we can leverage if we're running a business. So first one, I really hope you've all got it set up, is Google My Business. So if you don't, it's a free tool that anybody can use to list your business on Google, and you'll get a list on Google Maps. So if you don't already have that set up, I'd recommend doing that straight away. If you've already got one, it's likely the last time you updated it was about 6 months or a year ago. Highly recommend jumping in and try and keep it updated every month. That tends to be a pretty good amount of time to keep it updated. Upload new images, new video, if you've got some. Ask your customers for reviews. And, I'm going to talk to everybody about driving. We'll give you a review link after this, and we'd love your feedback if you want to give Arthur Street a review. The other thing you can do now is post to Google My Business. So you can now treat it like a social media platform, and you can post an update, or if you've just added a blog page to your website, you can now post and list that blog on your Google My Business. So a really great way to tell people a bit more about you if they're searching. Alana, good question. How do you do that if you don't have a physical location? Now, when you go to set it up, so you need to tell it your address so that Google knows who you are, but there is a tick box in your Google My Business settings that says, I'm a service business. I'm a service business. Please don't list my address because I go to my customers. So you can definitely do that, and it won't actually list your physical address. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so thinking about SEO as well. So Google My Business, do it. Easy to do, update it if you haven't already. The other one is thinking about how you're organically ranking on Google. We're not going to go into detail on that, but it is a big part of being successful with Google, is ranking pretty well organically. And then we've got Google Ads that we're going to talk through in detail. So Google has many different types of ads. There's search ads that we're going to talk through in detail, but there's also display ads, the image ads that you would have seen, video shopping, Google shopping ads. If we've got any e-commerce businesses here, can be a really a very successful format of advertising. And then we've got app. If you want to drive app installs, you can. So many different sides of Google. I wanted to show just really quickly a success story. So this is from Google, and it's a really good story, and I think you guys will relate to it, thinking about the sort of challenge that small businesses face. I'm just going to double check that you'll be able to hear me. And you should be able to hear this. So just a good case study from Google. Now this is
with Google Ads. Our return on
This is Google trade marketing, so it tends to pull on the emotional strings, and it's very Google centric, but it is a good example on how you can get results.
investment has been 36 to 1. That blows my mind. We went from being this little shop in Milton to this little shop that could send orders out all over Australia. Hi, I'm Mel Stone. I'm the owner of Bliss Gifts and Homewares, and I live on the beautiful south coast of New South Wales in Milton. So Bliss Gibson Homewares is a small family operated business. Being a tourist town, we rely primarily on the tourist trade. Last year, we were preparing for the biggest season we'd ever had, and then the fires hit. There was no evacuation. There was no warning. We were surrounded. There were 40-metre flames that went over the house. You could hear the roars of the fires. They sound like a freight train. After the bushfires, Milton was a ghost town. We were a bricks and mortar store with no customers inside. The town was so deeply hurt and affected by these fires. There was a lot of questions of, can we overcome this? Then COVID hit and it was like, what more can you throw at us 2020? We knew we had to grow our online presence. We knew people wanted to shop with us and we just needed to connect with them. And that's where Google Ads came on board for us. So the really great part is that your ads can reach people who are looking to buy exactly what you sell. The way it works is we put keywords like gifts and homewares into our Google Ads account. You can tweak it and optimize it to see what's working best for your business. We saw initial success straight away by investing $25 a day. We were blown away, and then the community coming forward, they were able to find us better and they were able to shop and support us, and that was amazing. So everything we learned about Google Ads, we learned online. If I can do it, if my team can do it, anybody can do it. Our business is 90% online now. We're about to launch internationally, and that's so exciting. We're just so happy here, and we're so happy with the growth that we're continuing with now. Without Google's assistance along the way, it just might not have happened.
On your Google, geez, it makes me think that a lot of small businesses have been through a lot in the last 4 years or so. And look, yeah, very, very emotional driven ad, which is, it's actually quite a good case study for a good video ad, but also the results that small business is getting, and it's not unlike the clients that we work with every day on Google as well. So if you haven't tried Google, think about which sort of format of Google advertising might be best for your business. And you know, if it's set up correctly, you should be able to create a pretty clever campaign that delivers a pretty good return on advertising spend. So for every dollar that you put into it, you should be getting, you know, $3 to $4 back, if not more, in sales or, you know, eventual sales that stem from leads that you might generate through that. So thinking about that, well worth giving it a go. So if we think about the other ad types that Google offers, there's display. Now, display ad is a bit more difficult to get results for a lot of small businesses because not many people click on them. You know, I'm sure we've all seen ads when we're reading the Geelong Addy or the Herald Sun or the Age or whatever it is online. We tend to take in the brand and the message. So it is a good sort of format of awareness type marketing, but very, very few people will actually click on display ads. That being said, it can be really useful if, so Emily, being a service-based business, one thing that we highly recommend is what we call remarketing. So if people are shopping around, so let's say people inquire with you, or they've been to your website and looked through your service page to find out a bit more about what you actually do, the fair bet that that person is also doing the same with your competitors. So they're going to be sort of shopping around and having a look at all of the different, you know, service offerings that might be relevant for them. So through that process, when they're doing that research, it can be very effective to show them a couple of ads that just tell people about who you are and what you do, and just build that brand connection. So remarketing can be a great way to do that. So people have been to your website, we can follow them around as it would be with a couple of display ads just to reinforce what we're about and who we are. This particular example is obviously quite commercial, so they're offering a sale to try and get people in. But Google display ads. Then have we got any on? Give us a quick yes on the chat if you're running an e-commerce business. So if you're actually selling products on your website, because we may not delve into this too much, but Google Shopping ads, tapping into people looking for products. So an example there, on Google, if I type in buy wetsuit, you can see a client of ours, I love seeing number one, Need Essentials, have got the first ad there on the top left. So Google Shopping ads is literally showing product ads to people that are looking. So they're generally very effective at driving sales. Now, to help with your Google sort of process, there's a couple of tools that you can use. If you set up a new account, Google will give you a bit of advertising credit. So if you've never used Google Ads before, you can set up a new account and Google will give you, I think the deal is if you spend $600, you'll get a $600 credit to sort of help you learn and help you explore Google Ads. So that can be a good way to give it a try. Once you've set up an account, you can also go through a process of planning out the keywords you might bid on. Now, this is Google Keyword Planner is a great tool because you can punch in your website or punch in a couple of keywords that you think might be worth including in your campaign. And it'll come up with a list of similar keywords as well as a list of how often they're searched. So it'll give you what we call the search volume for that keyword, which is really useful because there's no point including keywords within our Google Ads campaign that nobody actually searches for. And we want to aim for, where there's lots of people searching. So it can help you plan out the keywords that you might go after as a part of your Google Ads campaign. Another great free tool, it's another one of those ones where you have to create an account, but you can access it for free. A few of you might already used it. Anybody used Ubersuggest? It's a similar tool where we can put in either a starting keyword, and I used the Accountant Geelong for this one, and you can see that it spat out a list for similar keywords. And I don't know if we've got any accountants, so it would be quite helpful if we do. But people that are looking for an accountant would type in a range of these different keywords, and it gives us the search volume as well as what would be a CPC. So what would the market sort of be paying for a click? So what's the cost per click? And that can give us an indication for how much money we might want to spend with our Google Ads campaign. Okay, so hopefully that helps. So the idea was to give you a really quick overview of Google Ads. If you're not running it, highly recommend it. If you are running it, when was the last time that you reviewed it? If you're running Google search ads, you might want to think about how you can improve the performance of your campaign by also running some shopping ads or some YouTube ads. And Google has some clever AI-driven bidding strategies that'll sort of run ads across all Google products in order to get you the result that you're after. So hopefully that makes sense. Feel free to jump in with any questions on Google, but we're going to move on to talking just briefly about Meta and Facebook ads and what you might want to consider. So thinking about the Meta family, so when we talk about Facebook ads, we sort of talk about the broader family. So Meta ads includes now Facebook, Instagram, something called the Audience Network, and then we've got WhatsApp as well as Facebook Messenger. So ads can run across multiple platforms. A quick case study. So in terms of, driving success with Meta ads, and this is some work that we do for Adventure Park, and they're obviously a really great, they're almost a perfect client in that it's very exciting what they do. People love to see, people going down water slides and having fun in their feed. One of the things that works really well, and Adventure Park do very well out of their Facebook and Instagram ads because they've got great content to share. They're also smart at being agile with their strategy. And what I mean by that is they will have an overarching budget, but then be quite strategic at, if they notice something's working, they can chop and change accordingly and, put budget into what the data is saying is working really well. and that can be quite effective. The other thing that they do really well is building ads that are suitable for each different platform and each different placement. So as you can see here, we've got a vertical stories ad that was running on Instagram, and then we've got a very different looking image ad, the one next to it. They've got a range of video assets and a whole range of other things as well. So just a couple of tips on what you can do. Before I move on, quick question from Catherine, how are you going? Is there anything you can do to protect your Google ads from being repeatedly clicked on and burning through your budget by a competitor? This has happened to me in the past and it continues to chase me, yes. So Google, it's a really interesting one where what Catherine's talking about there, if I could do a Google search and effectively find all of my competitors' ads and get my team to keep clicking on them. And the idea is that would cost the advertiser money. So Google actually do a pretty good job at trying to stop that. And if a number of clicks come from the same IP address, Google will actually credit you. So Google do reimburse you if they pick up what we call click fraud. But it is something to keep an eye on. Catherine, when you go through your statements as well, you'll actually see a list of if Google has picked up any click fraud, and it should be crediting you for those clicks. So that might be worth just going through your invoice history and making sure that Google is crediting you. Yeah, interesting. If unfortunately, if there's multiple IPs involved, it can be difficult to for Google to pick up. But something, yeah, could probably launch a support chat with them and see if there's other measures they could put in place. But yeah, I haven't heard of anyone going to that length. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Meta ad types we've talked about a little bit, but ads look very different across different placements. We've got obviously our Facebook feed ad there, and then we've got an Instagram ad urging people to shop, as well as the audience network and Messenger where we can get ads as well. So a couple of things I wanted to point out with Facebook, Instagram ads and the rest. There's no doubt that to be successful, we need to consider what we're actually trying to do. So we need to be quite, planned at understanding what's the purpose of our ad. So are we trying to drive awareness, or are we trying to drive consideration or conversion? So what we can do when we set up a new Facebook and Instagram ad campaign, we can actually go in and actually tell the platform what we're trying to do. And as an example, if we just want to build a bit of brand awareness for our local business, we would tick that first one and we'd go, okay, we want to build awareness. We don't really care about how people engage with our ads. We just want as many people to see them as possible. And the platform will try and do that for you. As opposed to if we're a services-based business and we need to drive leads for our business, we can actually try a lead generation campaign. So under consideration, we can build an ad that then opens up a lead form, and people can, even without going to our website, fill out their first name, last name, and email address and submit it to us, and we'll just get a list of leads. So really thinking about having a planned approach and working out what are you trying to do with your paid budget, and then setting up your campaigns accordingly. Hopefully that makes sense. We've just got a bit of a table there. So hopefully that's useful just to map out, if you're driving the objective of brand awareness, what is the key result? So most of these I think are pretty self-explanatory, but if we're going for impressions, that's ads. So one impression is when one ad is shown. And then as we head down, we tend to get a bit more direct and driving people to websites and so on. Now, we always get asked this, so I thought I'd include it, but often it can be a challenge. Like, what is the difference between an organic post, so something that we're just posting to a page, versus what is a boosted post, and what is a full Facebook ad or meta ad? And just a really quick breakdown here of what is the difference across each of them. An organic post appears on a Facebook page, but as I said before, unfortunately, it's not going to be shown to a huge volume of people. And I think the latest stat is something like 6% of people that already follow your Facebook page will see your organic post, which is very small. Then we've got a boosted post. So we say to Facebook, I'm happy to show this ad to more people, and we put a budget into it. It might be $50 per post or something quite small. And we've got some basic targeting options, some basic age and gender options, and so on. We can choose interests, but it's quite basic. And then full-blown Facebook ads that we set up through Ads Manager. We've got a lot of features that we can tweak to really get it in front of the right audience. So just to set that one straight. Now, a couple of things that are worth noting. So if you're going to delve in and have a play around, or if you already are running Facebook and Instagram ads, there are some really strong audiences that you can leverage. A lot of them are intent-based audiences. So similar to what I was talking about before with Google, how can we show ads to people that have already shown some intent to, purchase our product, or, sign up for our service, as it would be, or inquire and get a quote. So some of those include website interactions. How can we, engage people that have read a service page or added our product to cart, or maybe even started the process of filling out a contact form. Then we've got page, ad, or video engagement. How can we get in front of people that are watching our video content or video ads? How can we get in front of people, again, who have engaged with our ads already? And then so on with events. If anybody's running Facebook events, we can target people that said they were interested or going to our events as well. And then finally looking at, how do we, so let's say we decide we want to really understand what's going to work and what's not. We're happy to invest a bit of money in running some Google ads. We're happy to invest a bit of money in social media ads. What are some things that we can do to help us measure success? So the best metric for most businesses is looking at what is your return on ad spend, or ROAS, as I mentioned before, which is basically your total campaign revenue divided by your cost. So what sort of money are you making from your ads, and what is the total cost of your advertising campaign? Now, this is a lot easier if we're selling shoes, or if we're an e-commerce business. It can be a bit more of a challenge if our campaign is generating leads, but thinking about how can you start to measure that? If we're running a campaign that drives lead generation, we can hopefully get a feel for the leads that came in from our campaign, and then start to understand how many of those leads actually ended up coming through and becoming a customer, and attribute it back that way, but it can be a bit more difficult. Now, a couple of tips. If you're not already, you need to think about upgrading your Google Analytics profile to GA4. So you probably heard, but Google is winding down its old version, Universal Analytics. And as a mid-year this year, it'll actually stop tracking data. So if you haven't already, you need to upgrade to GA4. Once you've done that, you can then go through a process to configure web events. And it is probably going through that setup process is a really good point to check in and have a look through. Are you actually tracking meaningful events on your website as an event or a goal in Google Analytics? So go through that process. And what I mean by that is, it's amazing how many businesses we work with, and we'll jump into their Google Analytics profile once we start working with them, and we realize they're only tracking the basic things. Like, it hasn't actually properly ever been set up. So what would best practice look like is, if you've got it tracking, you're monitoring, let's say you're a service business, you probably want to look at how many people are subscribing to your e-newsletter. how many people are clicking to call if you've got a phone number on your website, how many people are filling out your lead or your inquiry forms, or how many people are maybe spending a bit of time on your services page. So think about capturing data on these events. If you're, and it's relatively easy to do depending on your web platform. If you're e-commerce and selling product through your website, it's even more vital to actually understand, you know, when are people adding to cart, when are people starting checkout, when are people finishing checkout, and so on. So going through that process. Then we want to look at setting up Facebook Pixel and Events Manager if we haven't already. So for those of you that aren't familiar, I think most businesses would probably have already gone through this setup, but Facebook has a bit of code or an integration where we can basically link our Facebook Business Manager account with our website, so that Meta will start to get data on what are people actually doing on your website. And we can go through a process of placing the pixel, which is the base code, on our website. For those of you that are doing some digital marketing, you might be aware that this is what we call cookie-based tracking, which a lot of these platforms are sort of starting to phase out. So there's the pixel that we might want to put on our website, as well as server-based events. Can get a little bit complex, but now we've got sort of two types of events that we can start to attract and really understand. So there is a process. If you haven't already gone through it, more than happy to give you some information on it. And it's something that we can work with you on if you want help setting it up. And we do a lot of mentoring in this space where we actually just help people get their setup right. So once you've got the pixel on your website, we can then go through and set up events using a really easy drag and drop tool where we load Events Manager, events setup tool, and then we just basically get a picture of all of the different buttons on a website. We say to Facebook or Meta, we want to track this as an action, and it will do it for us. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, we're going to hand over some information on where you can turn and how you can find out a bit more on how to do that. Alrighty, so we have thrown a whole bunch of information at you. We run a little bit ahead of time, but that's okay. What I'm going to do in a moment is just hand over some useful stuff that we use pretty commonly, and we're going to include links to most of this when we shoot out the email to everybody that's attended. So I am keen to answer as many questions as I can. So please have a think about if there's anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to know a bit more about. I'm more than happy to spend a bit more time answering questions. So while you guys are thinking about your questions, I'll just talk through a couple of things that we find quite useful for our clients. Now, so many small businesses don't have a digital marketing strategy. I don't know if you do or you don't, but if you don't, a really good way to do it is just have a one-page plan. So, sometimes the best strategies end up sitting in a top shelf in a desk because they might be like 60 pages. If you can get everything onto one page, you're doing well. And it's going to help give you a really tactical strategy that's easy to follow. So we've got this very basic template that talks about who are you targeting? What are your objectives? How will you achieve them? So what are the tactics that you're going to engage with in order to achieve your goals? And then finally, when will you do everything? So it makes it accountable and it gives you a bit of a time plan to sort of map out when you're going to chew off different elements. So that's just a Google doc that we'll share with you. The link, I'll share the link to OpenAI. And if you aren't already playing around with ChatGPT, jump on and have a look. Again, use it with caution and be a little bit conscious about the information that you're putting into it. Obviously, because of privacy or NDA requirements, you do need to be a little bit careful. A really good one. So one of the challenges with running a small business, it's hard to sort of stay up to date on a lot of this digital marketing stuff. And something that the team here love is Marketing School. So Eric Sue and Neil Patel, two absolute legends within the digital marketing industry. They jump on each episode and they cover, you know, what are some really practical things that you can do to improve your digital marketing. The best thing about this podcast is each episode is only about 5 minutes, which is incredible because it means we can just get the snippet of information and then off you go, you know, go on with your day and get some stuff done. Facebook. So we've given you a really quick overview of some of the Facebook and Google products, but there are some really great learning resources out there. So if you want to know more about Meta and Meta products, there's Meta Blueprint that gives you, it's an online learning tool, and you can basically say, I want to know more about, you know, setting up pixel events, and then you can go through some learning on that. Or I want to know more about running this type of ad, and you can go through the learning on that. So highly recommend checking out that. And then also we've got Google Skillshop. So Google do a great job at trying to upskill everybody across digital marketing. And within Google Skillshop, if you haven't already, there's a number of courses. So you can do one on Google Ads, one on Google My Business and how to sort of set that up properly. So there's a range of courses that you can jump on with Google Skillshop. Quick shameless plug, Emma, I hope that's okay, but we also have a Google Ads practical workshop coming up on the 20th of April, so just after Easter, hopefully that is. If you want to sort of go through the process of setting up a campaign, it's a group learn, so I think we've got 4 or 5 spots left. And yeah, jump on, and we basically get you to bring in your laptop, and we go through a process of explaining some theory about how best practice Google Ads can look. And then we actually go through and get you to set up the starting of your campaign. So that could be really useful to anybody here, and we'd love to, love to see you in our workshop. So feel free to jump on our website and have a look, and you can book directly. I'll shoot out the link, and Emma, if that's okay, we'll get that out to everybody. So guys, we've got 15 minutes left. I'm more than happy to, like most of us, we're probably happy to have a bit of time back in our day, but I'd love to know, are there any questions? And I'd also love to know what you found most interesting out of this presentation. So please, guys, I'd love to hear from you on the chat. Catherine, what are our top 3 tips for super low budget digital marketing service-based business? Okay, cool. Good question. Number 1, I mean, Google Ads is a no-brainer. So Google search ads, what you want to do is create a campaign. So think about a keyword that you know is very important to your business. So what are people going to be typing in just before they engage with you? Jump in and create a very basic Google Ads campaign that might include only 3 or 4 keywords that you want to bid on. Make sure that you have an ad that talks about the keyword that you're bidding on, and then make sure that your landing page, so the page that people click through on the ad, make sure that also talks about the keyword that you're bidding on. There is no doubt that, for a very small budget, you can get results across Google Ads, and people will engage from there. So that's one. The second one would be remarketing on Facebook or Instagram. So if people have gone through and checked out your service pages, or if people have gone to your contact page but maybe not got in touch, have some basic form of advertising. It can be like $4 a day, or you can generally, for most small businesses, get results for a couple of $100 a month. Have a campaign that follows people around and gets in touch with people when they're considering your business or your category. That's number 2. Probably the third one is getting active on Reels. So you don't need money, but you might need some resources in order to get moving. But think about recording some video content. Think about learning how to do some basic reel editing and posting that out to social media. Now, even if you're service-based, you know, people, we're all individuals, and even though you're engaging people in service-based, we're all spending time on Facebook and Instagram. So having a play around with that. And how good is this? I just got coffee brought in from a team member. So guys, I'm hoping you got a coffee on the way. But shout out to Chloe on our team for bringing me that. So yeah, Catherine, hope that helps. Google Ads, have a basic Google search campaign, remarketing, think about doing some Facebook or Instagram ads to follow people around when they're considering you, and then also getting set up to record some reels and post them to social media. Trish, it's quite overwhelming, it can be, and sorry if I've confused anything. We wanted to give you a really quick overview of everything and then also hand over some tools in order to, you know, let you do some self-learning. There is a lot of information out there. And Trish, if you want to know more, I highly recommend, if there's something that you went, yeah, that sounds good, and I think that'll work for my business, even just jump on YouTube and watch a video of somebody explaining it or, you know, guiding you through the process. YouTube is such a fantastic learning resource. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, ChatGPT is very addictive and it's making our lives easier. It's crazy how quickly everybody has adopted it. And yeah, it's fast becoming our favorite tool. Donna, can I give you a rough idea of how much it would cost to get a digital marketing project up and running for a small to medium service business? So, Donna, it really depends on how much of the work you want to do yourself versus how much you might want an agency to do for you. Let's say if you want to do it yourself, you can get some paid campaigns going pretty quickly on a relatively low budget. So it's different for every industry. But generally businesses, a small to medium-sized business will get results from a $500 ad spend per month, as long as it's set up correctly. And if we think about most of our businesses, you know, most businesses, a $500 advertising spend isn't that a huge sum of money. Hopefully that gives you a benchmark. One of the things you can do if you want to estimate how much it might cost to do Google ads or Facebook ads, you can create an account. And if you go through the campaign setup process, it will forecast out the results that you might get for the amount of money that you have after you put in a bit of information about what you're trying to do. I hope I haven't confused that one, Donna. Hopefully that makes sense. Lucille, thanks for jumping on. Hey, good to see you again, Catherine. Thank you. Greg, to use Google My Business like social media and to update monthly, you've found success so far with earned marketing on Google reviews. Yeah, good one, Greg. So there's no doubt. And like I said, I'm going to send around a link. And if you like this session, we'd love you to review us. It's the best thing that any business can do, you know, and probably something that gets forgotten quite often. But we highly recommend within Google My Business, you can jump in and get a link and send that out to people. So send it to your last 50 customers. And I think the key is in how you set it up. So often we recommend to our clients having a bit of a spiel that you might say something like, reviews are really important to our business. And if you had a great outcome with us, we'd love you to help us by sharing your review on our Google My Business listing. And here's the link. But I totally agree, it's the way to go. Yes, Greg, vertical format video, definitely the way to go. Mark, over the years, what are the common mistakes that we've come across? Yeah, good one. I think there's no doubt businesses will go ahead without a strategy. So we often find Yeah, businesses that sort of stop and really think about who their customers are, think about the pain points that their customers might be experiencing, and then build a marketing program around that, have much better results. And the other thing I'll say on that, like we were talking about how to measure results, it's crucial to set up a means to, so set up Google Analytics to actually track the important goals to your business before you start, because otherwise you're flying blind. As opposed to, if you hit pause, think about your customers, set up the right, the right technical setup so you can track some of these important metrics to your business in Google Analytics in GA4, as well as maybe in Facebook and maybe in Google Ads. You're going to have a marketing program that is well informed. It already starts with what is likely to work, and then it's going to actually give you some data on, if you spend $200 in ads, what does that actually get you in terms of customers? It's a much better way to go. And that's probably the biggest mistake that we see, businesses just jumping in without really thinking about it. But good question. Thank you. Amy, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got lots out of it. Rocher, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, but hopefully that was close. Very good. Thank you for joining us. Well, guys, we're just about at time. Again, I'll send around our slides. And Emma, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone. Like I said, yeah, we'll be recorded. This session has been recorded, so we will send you out the link. Thank you so much, Matt, for presenting on this morning. I just need to go back and watch those, the replay for those 3 social media posts that you did for me.
I'll copy and paste them and I'll send them over to you. Save you a bit of time.
Sounds great.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.